Hair loss is one of the most distressing things people come and see me for. So I wanted to do a session on, what are the things that I think people always make mistakes on when they first come in and see me. Number one, people jump straight to Rogaine or topical minoxidil as soon as they notice some signs of hair loss. This is a mistake because before you've had a chance to really evaluate the quality of the skin, you've already started your treatment. The problem is, because it's available over the counter, people assume that there are no side effects, that it's really safe and easy to use. However, the truth is that topical minoxidil can actually be quite strong. And so what happens is that people actually can get a lot of initial hair shedding. And when that happens, people kind of lose hope and get discouraged because the one thing that they know about hair treatment isn't working for them. So the first thing is, jumping straight to topical minoxidil. It has a role in many cases, and people do have long-term success with topical minoxidil, but there oftentimes is a time when there's hair shedding 1 to 3 months after starting it, and it could be significant. Up to 20 to 30% of hairs can be shed in this time period. But through that period, beyond it, people actually can respond really well, but it does have to be used very consistently for it to work really well, okay? To number two, when people say, take pills for hair loss, people only assume there's one pill available, finasteride, or the trade name is Propecia. It's a medication that's been on the market forever, and it is indeed quite effective at stopping hair loss. However, it is not the only option out there, and Propecia has had some issues in the various circles because there are sexual side effects that can be affiliated with oral Propecia, which is oral finasteride. And so people are afraid to take it, especially younger patients are afraid of having those sexual side effects, which happens in a decent number of people, which is usually reversible, but there have been a couple cases in the literature that show that the results can be partially permanent. And so something to be aware of is that there are other options that are oral that can help prevent or even grow hair that have been quite effective besides Propecia, something to speak to your dermatologist about. And lastly, the third kind of myth is that hair transplant will solve all your issues with hair loss. This is simply not true because everyone has different follicle count. People also have different reasons for hair loss. So some people, if the hair loss is due to a inflammatory or scarring condition, the hair follicles are not going to come back even if you transplant hair from other areas to that part of the scalp. For those with healthy scalp, you can transplant to the front, but as you talk to your transplant surgeon, they will also tell you that you have only a certain number of follicles available from the back to be able to transplant to the top or the front. And the reason this works is because the hair on the back is less sensitive to standard hormones that cause hair miniaturization or shrinking of the hair. And so that transplant to a different part of the scalp that have higher exposures to those particular hormones can still grow and seem like a hair that you can see. The problem with that is that people think, oh, I'm gonna let my hair go and I'm gonna try and do a transplant later, but you can only recover so much. So the best thing for hair loss is to prevent and treat early. So make sure you get in to see your specialist, make sure you have no scalp condition that's causing you to lose your hair, that you have a reversible form of hair loss. And the third thing is to understand that no matter what treatments you do, you need to at least make that diagnosis first and to understand both the pros and cons and the limitations of every treatment that you have. I will have a session on hair transplants that you can watch very soon. Okay, talk to you next time.